Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal. Good morning and welcome to Match Day. Arsenal are in action tonight against AFC Wimbledon in the Carabao Cup third round at the Emirates. Should be a decent night. Around about 48,000 tickets sold so far. So, providing everyone turns up, which we know isn't always the case when it comes to Arsenal. It should be a decent night anyway down at the Emirates. Plenty of Wimbledon fans there to come along to help create an atmosphere, and maybe we might see one or two young players get a chance to impress. I spoke about that in yesterday's video, talking more in depth about Charlie Patino and the possibility of him making his Arsenal debut, but certainly being involved in a matchday squad for the first time. He did train yesterday along with the senior Arsenal players, and there was 3 other young players involved in that training session as well, so perhaps they might even get an opportunity from the bench today. It'll be interesting to see what Mikel Arteta does when it comes to his team selection. We saw against West Brom he went very, very strong. Potentially, I think he might not quite go as strong as that tonight. I mean, that West Brom game came in the middle of those opening defeats. It was a game he simply could not afford to lose. Tonight, he's got a little bit of pressure off him after the back-to-back wins. Arsenal are at home, obviously. They're playing a League One side. Just feel this gives you more of an opportunity to potentially give a few youngsters a chance. So as I said, Charlie Patino, big night for him. Perhaps he's had a fantastic start to the season. Done it for the under-23s with that wonderful goal at Manchester United, which went viral. I'm sure you've seen it by now. Was the star of the show for the under-21s when they played a senior Swindon side in the EFL Trophy, showing he can cope with the physical side of playing against senior players. Is trained regularly with the first team throughout the season so far. Has made a big impression behind the scenes on players, teammates, coaching staff. Played 60 minutes for the first team against Brentford in that behind closed doors friendly when came on for Mohamed El Neni got injured. So he's just had a fantastic start to the season, Charlie Patino, and it feels like he warrants a chance tonight to impress, especially as there's no European football to sort of offer these youngsters a chance. We've seen in recent years Saka, Smith Rowe, Willock, they all got their opportunities really to impress regularly in the group stages of the Europa League. Arsenal don't have that this season, so it just limits the amount of chances for these youngsters to get an opportunity. And you feel if they don't get a chance tonight, then they're potentially not going to get a chance all season unless Arsenal get a relative minnow, as they're called, in the FA Cup early rounds come January. So it just feels like a real opportunity for Charlie Patino to get his first team involvement today, and he certainly warrants it, I feel, on the start of the season he's had. And like I said, there was four in training. Tim Akinola as well, central midfielder. Has been at the club for a couple of seasons now. Well, this is his second season. He signed from Huddersfield, after he was released by Huddersfield at the start of last season. Had a mixed first season, but has had a decent start to the season. He also came on against Brentford right in the last few minutes of that behind closed doors friendly, so he potentially might be involved today. Saladin, the young Dutchman who arrived last season as well, who struggled with injuries really last season in his first full season in England. He was involved yesterday. He can play sort of central midfielder or out wide. And Ryan Ali, how do you pronounce it? Ali Biusu. Probably got that totally wrong, but he's another one who trained yesterday. He's been impressive so far this season, playing kind of right wing back role for the under-23. So they're the 4 youngsters that trained ahead of tonight's game. It'll be interesting to see if they all get in the squad tonight. When you kind of look at the key decisions facing Arteta for this one, I think the youngsters is one of the big ones. What do you do with them? Do you give them the chance, given you probably might not have another opportunity, certainly until January, to really give them a good go at home in front of a good big size crowd? Like I said, just show them that the pathway's there for someone like Patino as well, who, the pathway's been clearly mapped out for him for a long time. Arsenal really rate Patino. As it stands, he's not really earmarked as one to potentially go out on loan. He's more to follow the Jack Wilshere, Bukayo Saka path, although Jack Wilshere did go on loan, so I don't know why I said him, but certainly follow the Bukayo Saka path and pretty much going straight into the first. That's the plan for Patino as it stands. And so if you're going to do that, then you need to give him a chance to impress. And it just feels like this is the right one for him. And if it doesn't, it might send out a little bit of a negative message. I mean, I wouldn't read too much into it if he doesn't play, but I'm sure there will be big disappointment with him if he doesn't get the opportunity because of the way he started the season. He's 18 next month. It's not like he's an absolute relative youngster. We saw with Liverpool yesterday. I think they started a 16-year-old Jurgen Klopp in their game against Norwich. Man City did it as well. So Patino will be kind of looking at all of those players getting their opportunities and be thinking, well, I really deserve mine. And so I think that's a decision that Arteta's going to have to make. And Patino's got a couple of years left on his contract. He signed his first pro one when he was 17. You can only sign for a maximum of 3 years when he signed that contract. So, once he turns 18, which is next month, Arsenal will certainly look to get him nailed down on a proper long-term deal that ties him down to the club, because let's face it, everyone and their dog are going to be looking at Charlie Patino, and if Arsenal struggle with him in terms of a contract, then he will have offers from absolutely everywhere. But I'm not saying that's going to happen, because Charlie Patino, as far as I'm aware, and sources close to him are absolutely delighted with the way his progress is being managed so far. He's very, very happy at Arsenal. He doesn't want to leave anywhere. So, I can't see any sort of problems with him signing a new contract. I would expect that to be a formality. But you do need to show him a little bit of faith and a little bit of, you're absolutely in my plans. So that's why I feel tonight that's one of the sort of big decisions that Arteta plays. He's also got to work out who plays up front, because you look at so far this season, Laka hasn't had any minutes really so far this season. So you'd expect that he needs to start to get himself some game minutes. But then you look at Balogun, scored twice at the weekend. He signed his new contract. He didn't go out on loan, so he needs to get minutes. So you look at this, you look at Eddie Nketiah as well, desperate for minutes. He didn't go out. Arsenal were trying to sell him in the summer. It didn't happen. As far as I'm aware, they had agreed a deal with Crystal Palace. That broke down over personal terms. Palace went and signed Oderson Edouard instead. So you've got to give Eddie some minutes, but how do you fit all those in? And we haven't even spoken about Gabriel Martinelli. I mean, the good thing with Martinelli, obviously, you can play him in one of the wide positions, so he can still get minutes tonight. But then how do you fit in Laka, Nketiah and Balogun? It's going to be interesting. You could play Lacazette as a number 10. We've seen him do that before last season for the first team. So that's an option for Mikel Arteta. One of the decisions you have to make. Do you play Laka in a deeper role and then still play Eddie or Balogun and start them as a central striker? So that's one of the key ones that I think Arteta's got to face when it comes to team selection. And what do you do in midfield? Do you start with Sambi Lokonga? Because... do you start Sambi against Tottenham? I'm not sure, because if he's done the 4-3-3 recently, you kind of feel, is he just going to do that again against Spurs? Personally, I wouldn't. I'd bring Sambi back into the side against Spurs on Sunday and have two in midfield. I just think Arsenal against a decent top flight team like Spurs, you kind of need central midfielders, two central midfielders. If you leave Partey on his own, he could be pretty isolated and it could cause problems. So I'd bring Sambi back into it. I know Granit Xhaka is available as well, but as I've said previously, I don't think he deserves or warrants to go straight back into the first team, given away he was sent off against Manchester City. So I'd play Sambi against Spurs. So that calls into question, do you start Sambi tonight? Because he didn't start against Burnley. He got about 20 minutes at the end, 25 minutes. So do you bring him in tonight, but then potentially risk him picking up an injury against Spurs? You could just start with Patino in central midfield and give Sambi a night off. So that's one of the decisions I think Mikel's going to have to make as well. Interesting this, one of the quotes he said before the game, Mikel, he's kind of talking about young players getting opportunity and how lots of them, if you're impressing training, that's one thing. But these nights like this are the nights where you've really got to impress and make your point. It was a bit of a sort of challenge to the players, to those youngsters, potentially to Patino or to Sambi or to Tavares if he starts, players like that. And, that you can be as good as you want in training, but these are the sort of nights where you've got to really impress and say, look, I want a place in the first team on a regular basis. And this is what he said. He said the players have to understand that if somebody wants to play and is seeking an opportunity, it's great that you're doing the right thing in training and that your behaviour is good, but this is the opportunity to show us as well that you deserve to play and make it difficult for us when it comes to team selection. These games are like any other game, an opportunity for anybody to show that he deserves to be in the team and that we are wrong. So not necessarily just for younger players. I mean, you're looking at potentially, Pablo Mari, Rob Holding, Cedric Suarez, those sort of players as well who need to show on the pitch that Arteta's wrong to keep them out of the side at the moment. Personally, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. You can play as well as you want today if you're Pablo Mari or Rob Holding or Nuno Tavares or Cedric Suarez, but it's not going to change who starts against Tottenham on Saturday because they're just not. We know who's going to start on Saturday against Spurs. But interesting comments nonetheless. Right, I will quickly run through my predicted 11. Absolute disclaimer here. This is going to be hopelessly wrong because trying to pick a team for the Carabao Cup is almost impossible. It's pot luck. I have no idea what Mikel Arteta is going to do. It's really hard, but this is what I'm going to go for. So you can all laugh at me when I'm completely wrong. I'm going to go Bernd Leno in goal. Obviously, he's going to come in and get a start. My defence, I'm going to say Cedric, Holding, Mari, and Tavares. But I'm sure that's going to be wrong because I think Chambers is going to play. I'm not sure who for. Maybe he might play instead of Holding. I don't know, but Chambers, I'm sure, will probably be involved. In midfield, I've gone for Maitland-Niles and Sambi so far. And then up front, this is an interesting one. I've gone Pepe to start on the right, Martinelli to start on the left, Lacazette to start as a sort of number 10 deeper holding player, and then I've gone Nketiah up front. Again, disclaimer, that's going to be hopelessly wrong. Absolutely, it's impossible to predict. I want to see Balogun start. I'd rather see him start than Eddie, to be honest, because let's face it, Eddie's not going to be at the club next year. Balogun is, so I'd like to see Balogun get as many minutes as possible. So that's the team I've gone for, and I think we might see Patino get his debut off the bench at some point in the second half. Just before I go, quickly, some comments made by George Sampioli, the Marseille head coach, about William Saliba. Some interesting one. Really big praise for Saliba, who started the season very, very well. Played every minute so far in the league. I think Marseille is second as well. And here's what Sampioli had to say. He said he's a top player in his position. We were lucky to get him on loan. It wasn't simple. He's great at marking, but great at bringing the ball out too. He's a future great of French football. He's very good at starting plays. He's adapted to the back three very well, and his performances are linked to the teams which likes to play from the back. So big praise for William Saliba. Started the season ever so well. Still only 20. What a talent he is. Let's hope that whatever's going on when it comes to Arsenal and Saliba and Arteta and Saliba, that he can come back next season and get his opportunity to impress. Because I think it's pretty clear by the way he's playing over in France at the moment that he's a special talent. So hopefully he can keep it up and then come back to Arsenal next summer and finally get his chance to impress. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Enjoy your day before heading up to Arsenal. I'm off to go and play golf now. Probably ruin my day before it begins by losing about 50 balls and having a shocker. But that's what I'm going to do. And then I'll be heading up to the Emirates later this evening to cover all the action. Enjoy your day, everyone. Speak to you soon.